Today I'm looking at Psalm 54. I'm just going to read the introduction of this psalm. It says, "For the director of music with stringed instruments, a maskil of David, when the Ziphites had gone to Saul and said, 'Is not David hiding among us?'" And this is what the psalm says: "Save me, O God, by your name. Vindicate me by your might. Hear my prayer, O God. Listen to the words of my mouth. Strangers are attacking me. Ruthless men seek my life, men without regard for God. Surely God is my help. The Lord is the one who sustains me. Let evil recoil on those who slander me. In your faithfulness destroy them. I will sacrifice a freewill offering to you. I will praise your name, O Lord, for it is good. For he has delivered me from all my troubles, and my eyes have looked in triumph on my foes." So many psalms in the whole book of Psalms come from David, and many of them reflect this constant theme of him struggling with his enemies, him struggling with people in conflict with him as king, or prior to the time that he was king, people who are hunting him down and persecuting him. And he's often in this position of trying to wrestle through this issue with God. The conflict is something that I think we all face. I can't imagine anybody who doesn't face some form of conflict. And even if you're living by yourself in a very isolated way, in some senses your conflict can still be there because you've isolated yourself away from people to avoid the stress of other people and the relationships with them. So, we face this every day, and whether we're living with one person, living with many people, whether we're interacting with people all the time, or we're quite withdrawn from people, in a sense our lives are full of personal challenge in relationships. And that's where David turns back to God so many times, and this is just one of those moments. The people called the Ziphites, they've gone to Saul and they're betraying David, saying, "Is not David hiding amongst us? Let's bring him out. Let's betray him. Let's bring him back into this zone of conflict." It had been a very difficult relationship with Saul. Saul had been king, but was often jealous, persecuting David, hunting him down in a really awful way, really. And David was often on the run, trying to get away and be safe. And so it's good perhaps just to come back to God those moments when conflict is happening, when we're dealing with conflicts, or when we're running away from them, when we're trying to draw away from them or hide from them or protect ourselves from difficult relationships. In whatever way we do that, it's good just to pour all that stuff over to God and say, "Lord, I need your help. I need God's help in this. I need you to deal with the situation." I think it's a good thing as a Christian to be praying, "Lord, have mercy on these people, have mercy on this person. They've given me a lot of grief, and I'm not just wanting the worst for them, but I need your grace to deal with it. I also need perhaps a protective barrier. In some conflicts, you do need a safe space." I was watching a couple of things last night. It was some of these stories about courthouses, and in the States particularly, and a couple of occasions which were very dramatic, where people's anger and upset got really boiled over, and they went for the offender who'd done some awful thing, or in one case, one woman went for the judge and got caught by the court security, but she completely lost it. And of course, contempt of court is another offence. If you're trying to assault the judge, or if you give a lot of speak back to the judge, or you're misbehaving in the court. God is there to stand as judge in situations between us and other people where there's been conflict. But he's also just, and He also sees the whole thing and also can put things right. He can bring reconciliation and mend situations that seem impossible, but also he can defend our cause when sometimes we feel we've been wronged and other people are not feeling that that's true. But we can put our case to him and say, okay, Lord, is this fair? Have I been fairly treated? I can't deal with this myself necessarily right now, but I'm going to have to look to you for your support, your help through this. And the same is true of these scenarios. There's always these sort of docudrama things which are following, airlines and things like that, where people love to watch how do they handle this awkward passenger, all these bizarre situations that come across the path of someone who's just trying to do their job, coping with upset passengers, strange passengers, bizarre behaviour, awkward people, all that sort of stuff. And of course, it takes a lot of skill sometimes. Thankfully, some people are really good at that, and we often need great wisdom how to handle people. People can be very unusual, and it can often mean that we need particular gifts at handling, calming people down, all the rest of it. And so we can ask God for wisdom, because often conflicts and disputes need great wisdom in how to handle them, how to bring about resolution or what to do when there has been difficulties in relationships. But also we can look to the Lord for his help, his wisdom, and his grace, his mercy, his justice, his protection as well, and his intervention in what seems an impossible situation. So I pray today that we'll find that in our own lives. We'll find all the resources we need in God to help us through very difficult and challenging relationships.